Tonight's game is available in TSN HD High Definition. For picture clarity, visit tsn.ca/HD and call your digital cable or satellite provider. And it is a magnificent Friday night in the Manitoba capital as we get set for the Blue Bombers and the Alouettes. And how's this for a rarity in Winnipeg? Wind calm, 25 degrees, fast track, perfect night. Alouettes coming off the bye. And they meet Jim Daly's crew. Daly surprisingly upbeat. There's Don Matthews, his team 6-0 coming off a bye. And Jim Daly's crew relatively upbeat considering that record.
Heartbreaking loss a week ago to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Lost by 2 to the Edmonton Eskimos. But Daly said it best after that when he said, don't be satisfied with the effort, don't be broken by the result.
The left footer, Troy Westwood, gets us started. And it will be Terry Vaughn from the 25-yard line. And Vaughn gets to close to the 40, 15-yard return as the proud new father, Anthony Calvillo, leads the Montreal offense onto the field.
Congratulations to Dad, Eric Lapointe. Mike Philomet will be the 2 running backs behind him. Gary Watkins leads all Alouette receivers with 213 yards after 3 games in Montreal. And there's that offensive line and a new backup that you won't see as a starter yet, but he's over there on the sideline, former Bomber Dave Mudge.
Starting lineup brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. And the Alouettes' first pass of the game incomplete as Calvillo delivers behind Dave Stala.
Winnipeg defense that has not given up a touchdown in 8 quarters of football. Gavin Walls is the player of the week in the CFL, had 3 sacks in the losing effort to the Edmonton Eskimos a week ago. Willie Fells is in the middle, replacing Rylan Wickman, and there's your secondary. Corners have played well all season long.
Fields Defensive Player of the Week. Walls was the lineman of the week, and a pass for Vaughn. Out of his reach, a 2-and-out. And a good start for that Bomber defense. And Doug Brown was saying he can't remember a time when he's been with this Winnipeg defense where they've gone back-to-back games without surrendering a touchdown.
Now they feel very confident in what they're doing right now, and they start this game the way they finished the last 2, and that's with a 2-and-out and with good defensive effort.
There's the former Alouette, Keith Stokes, who has a touchdown return in 3 straight meetings against Montreal, accepting the high kick from Damon Duval. Flag down, and he shakes the initial hit from Michael Botterill back in the Alouette lineup and hustling downfield. A loss of 3 on the return after the 47-yard punt as Kevin Glenn gets his 2nd start of the season.
Perspective is everything. Going into the season, fans here in this province weren't sure about Kevin Glenn. I hope he's the savior tonight. After 3 starts from T. Martin, Milt Stiegel will be the key to that offense. Still leads receivers for Winnipeg, even though Stiegel missed a game due to injury, a concussion. There's the offensive line, and Fiacconi, Aaron Fiacconi, the starting center, former Montreal Alouette.
Darryl Crutchfield assessed the no yards penalty, so that gives the Bombers better field position up at the 39-yard line. Kevin Glenn, a high ankle sprain in the first loss of the year in Saskatchewan. Milt Stiegel had 4 catches in that game. His best game was with Glenn at the quarterback position, and here's a pitch right side. Roberts cuts it back and breaks a tackle and gets out across the 45 to the 47. Dwayne Butler finally brought him down.
Bomber offense will try and get outside this aggressive defense. There's the front 4. Luke Tavenio starts for Mark Megna. Kevin Johnson at the linebacking spot right in the middle there. He's back. He's the heart and soul of that Montreal defense at middle linebacker. That's a great core with Dwayne Butler and Timothy Strickland, and a secondary that's relatively new playing together, but gets better game in and game out.
That Montreal defense, 4th in yards surrendered, 4th against the run, 4th against the pass, and surprisingly, 7th in points. And the Bombers already using their timeout on 2nd and 2. And this is as early as you'll see a timeout called in the game.
confusion from the offense and Kevin Glenn getting back in the lineup. Now you got to keep in mind, Glenn was the quarterback through camp, started in game 1 with Saskatchewan. That's where he was injured. There's his numbers in basically a couple of quarters in Saskatchewan before he hurt that ankle. Now he did finish the game after missing a couple of series, but has missed the last 3 starts.
And to underscore the woes of the Winnipeg offense, those are the best single game numbers by their quarterback this year. 2nd and 2. Roberts tries the left side and again finds a crease. Charles Roberts still going and brought down at the 40-yard line. That's 2 runs where he looked like he was contained, but broke contained.
Well, Charles Roberts has done this to the best of them in the CFL, and back-to-back plays, Kevin Glenn trying to distribute the football to his playmakers. Kevin Johnson, one of the best tacklers in the game, misses Roberts in the backfield, and that allows him to get to the next level, that secondary, and he's dangerous back there.
23 yards for Charles Roberts, 2 carries, 31 yards against a team, the only team he has never rushed for 100 yards against. And guess who they're featuring tonight? It's Roberts again, but this time they were not fooled. Anwar Stewart over to bring him down behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, Chris, they're featuring Charles Robertson, so they should, when you consider Charles Robertson in the last 2 seasons, 3,000 yards, 564 carries, and almost a 6-yard average. But maybe most importantly, he has that breakaway ability, the big play ability that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers desperately need, especially against this Alouette defense.
Loss of 6, 2nd and 16. Alouettes moved early, and flags fly. And there's Dwayne Butler coming off the edge. Was he too anxious, or was he drawn?
Well, this is something that the Montreal defense will live with. You look at their penalty situation, 14 of their 37 penalties in Montreal have been offside.
Montreal, number 25, 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
That's approaching 50%. The reason for that is because they send that pressure. Dwayne Butler will try and time the snap count and hit that thing on the fly going full speed at the line of scrimmage. Kevin Glenn can help himself by changing up that snap count.
Butler, a big game last week, 8 tackles against the Eskimos in that last second victory. 2nd and 11, time for Glenn, and the pass nearly picked off as Mook Tabenyo had dropped off. He lined up at defensive end, but that's a sign of sometimes they'll sting and sometimes they'll just show and drop.
Yeah, that time they drop out of there. And I want to show you how they have to play Charles Roberts after his good start. Here's Charles Roberts over here. Now, his assignment on this play is just to block on Anwar Stewart. But watch Stewart will not even rush the passer. See, Roberts turns out, he stands there. Now, Anwar Stewart stood with him and basically covered the running back. That takes a little bit of pressure off Kevin Glenn.
Troy Westwood just 5 for 9 on the year. Missed from 48 last week. This from 47.
Now watch out.
And look out because Ezra Landry dropped the ball. It's loose. At the goal line, touchdown. The Bombers are on the football, and Willie Fells comes up with it. Rylan Wickman's replacement has the ball.
Special teams have been a concern for Jim Daly, and they spent all week worried about Ezra Landry. He just does not secure the football. Now Willie Fells gets a chance kicking around a little bit, grabs it, touchdown Bombers.
So a dramatic opening turnover in this game. And Willie Fells, playing his first game in 11 months, finds himself with a touchdown less than 5 minutes in. And flags fly before Westwood splits the uprights.
Boy, if the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were looking for a good sign to get things going, this is it, that they've got a big playoff special teams.
Time count foul. Winnipeg, number 7, 5-yard penalty.
To start the game, because in their 0-4 start, 3 of the 4 games, it's been a nightmare on the special teams. Then you're facing Ezra Landry and one of the kings in creating special teams plays, and that's Don Matthews, and you got to have a lot of concerns if you're the Bombers. To get a big play off the teams early is huge for Winnipeg.
Westwood adds the extra point. The Bombers celebrate their first quarter points of the year. Well, Ezra Landry was the hero 2 weeks ago. Stripped of the football on what usually is a dangerous play for the Alouettes offensively. And a short kick, Terry Vaughn fielding it across the 40. And Vaughn may run a while, trying to get outside, tracked down from behind. Lamar McGregson, and then a late hit added. And a flag down against the Bombers as we check out the first Winnipeg first quarter points of the season.
Willie Fells is going to make this play on the cover team in a couple of ways. Yes, we saw him get the touchdown. Watch 40 right there with the left forearm, strips the ball. Now Tom Canada with a little kick forward right to his teammate Willie Fells and recovers it. Now, the rule on a kick, if it's deliberate, you cannot kick the football with your foot.
Winnipeg, number 25.
The rule, the officials obviously ruled that inadvertent, and Tom Canada was sliding forward and it hit his leg.
And so a fortunate ruling in an early season where everything's gone wrong. The officials could have called the Bombers on that. They get a break. A huge break after the fumble and an early lead. Calvillo, after the roughing penalty, hands the ball off. And Eric Lapointe with his first carry of the night.
Well, there's a lot of scenarios that can happen with a deliberately kicked football, but one of them is that Montreal could get possession of the ball back there where the penalty happens, where the ball is kicked. Now, the officials obviously ruled that that was not intentional by Tom Canada, so Willie Fells takes it in the end zone for a touchdown.
Eric Lapointe got 5. Second and 5. Montreal in Winnipeg territory. Calvillo with the pass incomplete. Looked for Kwame Cavill and still without a completion on his second straight 2-and-out.
You see Wes Lysak break on that football. This is a confident secondary that gets more and more confident with every play. And Wes Lysak came across in a hurry, broke on that football. That was a knockout shot. The Montreal receiver doesn't go down in a hurry.
Lysak second to Kevin Iben in tackles. And this play doesn't get underway. And they'll respot. And now whistle play in. Stokes awaiting inside the 10-yard line. Angling for the sidelines. Stokes inside the numbers. Couple of nice moves. Made that interesting for the 21. A 32-yard punt. 7 on the return. 7-0. Bombers have the lead as we join Kevin Armstrong.
Thanks very much, guys. Well, as we've talked about, it was a big week for quarterback Anthony Calvillo as he celebrated the birth of his firstborn on Tuesday night. So a little bit less sleep and less practice. Only 2 practices this week. I asked Don Matthews about it. He said, don't worry about Anthony Calvillo. He is a well-versed veteran that will be ready to go. So far, 3 attempts, 0 completions. We'll see as the night goes on. With the story on the Bomber sideline, let's go to Sean Churchill.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Kevin Glenn starting, as you know, for the first time in 3 games. And earlier in the week, CTV did a poll for the Blue Bomber fans. Who did they want to start this game? Kevin Glenn finished second, followed by Russ McNutt, T. Martin, and Spurgeon Wynn. Well, who was first? Kahari Jones. An 0-4 season has certainly frustrated the fans as well. Guys?
Hard to believe we're this far into the season and Kahari Jones not starting for anybody, not even lining up for anybody. There's a pass over the middle, dropped by Milt Stiegel.
Yeah, you know, but it is perspective, and you think about the fans here in Winnipeg. They really had high hopes for T. Martin, and T. Martin is just too young a quarterback and just wasn't picking up the offense fast enough and didn't use his legs as much as people thought he might running the football. And with a province that was a little leery of Kevin Glenn coming into the season, now look to Kevin Glenn as the savior they hope.
Again, still looking for their first offensive touchdown in 9 quarters. Open man, and McGarity couldn't reel it in. That pass behind the intended receiver.
Well, maybe one of the reasons that ball was a little bit behind him, Chris, was the fact that Ed Fillion was in the lap. He's playing right in the middle, and Ed Fillion is in the lap of Kevin Glenn when he tries to throw this football. It goes to his right and then cuts back, and watch the hit. So Kevin Glenn had to throw it up and around and over Ed Fillion, who stands 6'3", 290.
And has dialed his game back up. Didn't like the way he finished last year, and he likes the way he started this season. John Ryan with the punt, and here's Ezra Landry. Going wide side, late flag, and Landry trying to turn the corner and runs out of real estate. Looked like Svetkovic was clipped on the play after a 49-yard punt. Illegal block called on Mouktebenyo on the last punt return. Pushes it back 15 yards. Alouettes will start at their 32. Anthony Calvillo looking for the Owls' initial first down. Hands it off LaPointe. Tom Canada trying to ward off a block. LaPointe strung out. And good pursuit by that Bombers defense.
You know, one of the things that fans are sometimes frustrated by is when they get lots of penalties on the special teams. And sometimes, folks, it's just the fact that, hey, a clip is a clip and it has to be called. And that's Mouktebenyo straight in the back of Svetkovic. And that is a penalty that has to be called because it affected the outcome of the play. Right in the middle of the back.
And that was right out of the manual.
Yeah.
Anthony Calvillo 10 yards away from 30,000. Passing as an Alouette. Back to throw, he's in trouble. Gets away. And now has Dave Stella for a first down. And Stella's up to midfield. Anthony Calvillo just goes over 30,000 yards as an Alouette quarterback.
And does it in dramatic fashion. Matt Dunnigan talked about it in the pregame show that Anthony Calvillo leads all quarterbacks in rushing average. And he does this a whole bunch and doesn't get a lot of credit for it. Gavin Walls thought he had his 4th sack. Anthony Calvillo made something happen.
Calvillo now 21 yards away from tying Sam the Rifle Etcheverry, the all-time leader for Alouette quarterbacks. He has a completion to Kerry Watkins, who's been a very reliable receiver in this new Alouette offense this year. And now within 16 of Sam the Rifle, who I'm sure is watching tonight, one of the legendary Alouettes.
Certainly is. And you look at Anthony Calvillo, where he is in his career and his age. Calvillo probably add another 10, 15,000 yards before he's through to those totals and maybe more.
And you see also over 1,000 yard early in this season. 2nd and 5. Looks the other way. And Cahoon shakes a tackle and is brought down at the 35.
Well, Justin Coleman has been in the league a couple of years for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he understands that when it comes to Ben Cahoon, you just can't do the old flyby on Ben Cahoon. It's just a simple out route, but that's just the flyby by Justin Coleman. Cahoon, you have to tackle. He's like Terry Vaughn. If you just go and hit him, he's not going down. You got to tackle him, wrap him up, and bring him down.
4 straight Calvillo completions. He's just tied Sam the Rifle, and Terry Vaughn will help him set the record. And Vaughn, yards after the catch, his trademark, and you just saw why with a few more after that broken tackle. But there's AC now on top of the Rifle as he passes Sam Etcheverry.
Boy, he's had a lot of talent around him. And you think of the receiving corps and the offensive line he's played with, I'm sure he'd be the first to tell you he moved up that list because of the great players around him. And that'll be the trivial question now. Who caught the ball to put him past Sam Etcheverry?
Good-looking drive. Michael Villemick pounds it up the middle. Lamar McGriggs helping out on the tackle, along with the middle linebacker Willie Fells.
Mike Villemick has 3 touchdowns rushing the football. And maybe most importantly, because there was some question coming out of Ottawa from the Ottawa staff that he was having troubles learning how to block. Well, he's been that and a whole bunch more here in Montreal. He's doing a nice job blocking some of the best pass rushers in the game, giving Anthony Calvillo more time to throw the football.
2nd and 5. They give it back to Lapointe inside, and he has another first down. And the guys were talking about giving Lapointe the confidence to play game in, game out. I think Winnipeg has made that an easier decision because in the past they've had to dress and import in case Lapointe gets hurt. But now with Winnipeg, he can fill in if something goes wrong.
Well, that's right. And you know, when you think about it right now, the Montreal Alouettes have 3 import running backs that are running scout team in practice because of the 2 great Canadians they have starting right now in Winnipeg and Lapointe.
1st and goal, and Anthony Calvillo, quarterback draw, touchdown. 8th play of an impressive march, and Calvillo has a touchdown for Athena Sonia Calvillo.
I loved Matt Dunnigan's line in the pregame show. This is a hole that you could drive a Hummer through. Well, you could put a pair of them side by side and drive through that. You could put a 747 through that hole.
So Calvillo walks in. 2nd touchdown of the year. Duval ties the game with under 3.5 minutes to go, 1st quarter. It's all even in Winnipeg. A lot to celebrate. New daughter, a record for Alouette passing, and a 10-yard touchdown run.
All in one series, and you know that game ball, that touchdown football will be presented to Athena. Congratulations again to Alexia, Anthony Calvillo's wife, and newborn Athena.
A young AC. Here's Keith Stokes. And he's brought down by Dwayne Butler as he crossed the 30.
But once again, Daddy has a bunch of help from his friends in the O-line. First of all, they're going to catch the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in a stunt, meaning that only Lamar McGriggs is there to make this tackle. And watch what Brian Chu does with Lamar McGriggs. He chips off the center, Brian Chu, number 68, and watch this play right here. Lamar McGriggs with the only chance to make the hit. He's down on his back, thanks to Brian Chu. Go ahead one more time. Brian Chu snaps the shotgun there, chips off, and watch him make this block right there to spring Anthony Calvillo untouched.
So an 8-play drive, 78 yards, 5 minutes of time elapsed, and Calvillo gets the Alouettes back on even terms, and that ends the Bomber streak of not allowing an offensive touchdown at 8 quarters. Now they'd like to end the 9-quarter offensive drought. Roberts, right side, and Charles Roberts with a flag down is all the way across midfield. So Roberts has it going, but is this coming back? If it was to stand, he'd have 57 yards on 3 carries.
Offside, Montreal. Decline. First down.
And Ken Lazaruk delivers the good news for Bomber fans.
Well, we may be talking a little bit about blocking fullbacks for these tailbacks here in this game tonight, because Scott Regenbald, who is Charles Roberts' fullback, gets the lead block. 21's coming right out there. He gets the lead block. I believe it's on one of the linebackers for the Montreal Alouettes, and Charles Roberts does the rest with a great stiff arm in the open field.
Bombers have averaged only 62 yards rushing per game so far. This is changing. Another flag, and Charles Roberts into the secondary. Pass, carry, and finally dragged down by Tim Strickland. We'll wait for another flag to find out if another Roberts rump will stand. And it looks like offside again, Montreal.
Well,
Montreal, number 66, decline. First down.
they are trying, the Montreal Alouettes, to time up their blitzes, and we've seen this a few times now, but the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offensively, they've read this book and they've seen this blitz, and the timing right now is off for Montreal in that defense. That running game has caught Montreal in those stunts.
26 that time, Glenn. That's 3 carries of over 20 yards already for Roberts in the game. Reginald to the end zone, touchdown! They ran right down the teeth of the Alouette defense.
We're breaking trends all over the place. First offensive touchdown in 9 quarters for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And they do it with the running game. Scott Reginald was not wrapped up. And lumbers to Bader.
Point after is good. What a march. All on the ground. Offside on the convert. The Bombers will have to do it again. A little symmetry to that drive. 3 plays, 3 runs, all 26 yards long. 2 by Roberts, the last by Reginald, the point after by Westwood, and the 3 runs, the longest of the year by Roberts and Reginald going into this game.
You expect it from Rogers. I want to show you, though, Mike Abumetric and Kevin Johnson. Kevin Johnson, his stunt is taking him right to that gap where Scott Reginald hits. But because Abumetric stays with his block, Kevin Johnson cannot wrap up Scott Reginald. And we expect it from Charles Roberts, those big runs. Not so much from Scott Reginald. But if you don't tackle him, he'll take it in himself.
Didn't hurt. He's 6'3", 246 as he bounced off KJ inside. That feature earlier in the year in the A-gap. You don't usually get yards this easily against this defense.
And not against Kevin Johnson in that A-gap. Rushing yards tonight already over 100.
And folks, we're still in the first quarter.
Yeah. You look at their average coming in. Huge improvement running the football.
So they gave up their first touchdown in 3 games, but have scored their first offensively in 9 quarters, and now the squib pick by Westwood. They don't want to give Ezra Landry a shot. So Terry Vaughn will take it, and he's across the 45-yard line, but that's how much respect they have for Ezra Landry.
Well, yeah, they're going to kick it away from Ezra Landry as much as possible. Anthony Calvillo, after opening series that was 2 and out, got things going on the last series. And he started that whole drive, remember, by getting out of trouble. Gavin Walls had a sack on 2nd down. He bought time, moved the chains, and ended up in a touchdown.
First down, Terry Vaughn out of the backfield. Across the 50 to the 52, so
nice changeup. Yeah, good changeup to bring Terry Vaughn, and that's just one of the wrinkles that Doug Barry and the offensive coaching staff for the Montreal Alouettes will throw in a game plan to try and change things up, because Terry Vaughn as a receiver is not someone that the defense will count running the football. So it's a changeup from Doug Barry and the running game to move a receiver, carry the ball on a running play.
Former tailback, and we talked about yak yards, his ability to bounce off tackles. He can take off with it. 2nd and 5 underneath. Pass for Cahoon. Separated from the ball by a fine-looking rookie, Stanford Samuels, who last week had an interception and a fumble recovery for a touchdown in Edmonton.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this Samuels is the guy. Simple out pattern again from Ben Cahoon, but watch the closing speed from Stanford Samuels. He's there in a hurry, so Cahoon can't gather himself up, and I thought Ben Cahoon grabbed his left knee after the hit from Samuels.
So 3rd down, the 3rd 2 and out of this opening quarter for the Alouettes. Duval, short kick, and Stokes is going to let it hop. Fields it on the bounce, and Patrick Dorfelis down quickly. Ryan Folk also there, and so they do a nice job of smothering Keith Stokes. But Kevin Glenn engineers a touchdown drive without throwing a pass, and must take a little heat off the quarterback and the entire offense.
Well, it's tough to judge the quarterback when that happens, although Kevin Glenn said all week, and he said yesterday, his job is to distribute the football. It's not necessarily to win the game. A lot of pressure on him, no question, but he's only one guy. He wants to distribute it. Obviously, in his game plan, Charles Roberts is going to be a huge factor.
Long field as they start at their 12. Pass to the flat. Kamal Peterson makes two men miss. Kevin Johnson across to bring him down, but not before Kamal has a first down.
You know, Kevin Glenn last season with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers threw for 23-29 in his TD to interception ratio the right way, 14-8. And this offense averaged over 30 points in the last 7 starts for Kevin Glenn, and something they couldn't do this year. That average way down. So that's why everyone optimistic. Kevin Glenn starting tonight.
12 for Peterson, and that is what Winnipeg's averaging on first down, 12 yards. Charles Roberts responsible in large part for that. This time, they're going much tougher up the middle. Tim Strickland on the tackle. End of one quarter. It was an interesting one here at Canada Stadium. First quarter stats brought to you by Rona, the how-to people.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers hanging in there toe-to-toe with one of the elite teams in the Canadian Football League. 5 first downs apiece. Pretty good considering last week versus the Edmonton Eskimos, the Winnipeg offense had 17 possessions. 13 of them went 2 and out.
Roberts got 4, so it's 2nd and 6. And whoops, Ed Fillion jumps the gun. Was he drawn? And while they sort that out, we can remind you last week, so close in Edmonton for Winnipeg, and they feel that if they could get a win against an elite team like Montreal, it would change the course of their season.
Well, that was a heartbreaker last week, Chris, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers so far again against one of the elite teams in the league is matching their intensity. That's the key when you play a good team. Now, can they do it for the entire football game is the question. So far, so good, though, for the Bombers.
Different play now on 2nd and 1 with the Fillion offside. Remember a couple of weeks ago down at the goal line, he was offside twice in a row, and John Nix was taken 3 times in a row. Glenn went to the video because he didn't think he was offside and had to pay a $10 fine into the chicken fund. But if he had had reliable video evidence that he hadn't lined up offside, he could have taken $10 off that that fine.
You're saying that Ed Fillion is all for video replay?
He is if it could save him $10. He'll eat his share of the chicken fund, though. First down, shovel pass into the traffic, and Roberts dragged down, short gain. Maybe 2 for Mr. Roberts.
Mook Tabenyo and Ed Fillion were the 2 guys involved in that play. One from Tabenyo to stem upfield and one from Fillion to close the gap inside. Fillion slides over, even though it looked like there was a little bit of holding going on down there. And Mook Tabenyo gets containment, so Roberts has to turn into his teammate.
So 2nd and 7. The Bombers load up the wide side with 4 receivers, and time for Glenn to be selective, and now he finds a man over the middle complete. Keith Stokes across midfield. Another Bomber first down.
That's right about the same place in the field that Anthony Calvillo did it, going that way, and now Kevin Glenn does it. Sometimes you don't have to be a great scrambler at the quarterback position to make plays with your legs. Sometimes it's just about buying a couple more steamboats. And this time it's Kevin Glenn's turn to get himself outside of the pocket, and it does 2 things. First of all, it didn't work to the play side. He doesn't like what he's got. Now he pulls it down, come outside of the pocket, and everything opens up. His sight lines, his lines of vision open up to the receiver.
Yes, that's an offensive line that's made 3 changes since training camp. Look out! Glenn got it away, but it's batted down, and Tim Strickland drilled Kevin Glenn as he released the football.
It is a penalty to hit the quarterback in any way above the shoulder. And this is the play that Kevin Glenn scrambles for the first down. The very next one, he is belted from the outside. And let's see if this is to the head. Doesn't look like it. Looked like it was pretty close. He had that left arm right around the chest. Timothy Strickland of Kevin Glenn.
Roberts checks out at 2nd and 10. Stokes is in. The pass for Stokes. He's got it, but he'll come up short of the first down. Anwar Stewart. And Tim Strickland double team Stokes, who becomes a little bit more involved in this offensive package.
Well, the one thing we're noticing is that the game plan designed around some playmakers for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Charles Roberts and Keith Stokes, and why not? And the other thing is that Kevin Glenn is making decisions much quicker than T. Martin used to do, and that's what Jim Daly thought he would bring.
It's 3rd and 1. It looked like Jim Daly wanted to punt, and then he thought about it again, and he's going to roll the dice. First gamble of the night, and the fans like it.
He needs one block for the stunning Alouette defense.
Needs the 44-yard line with Reichenbald and Roberts in behind. He's going to throw. He looks here, and he's got Milton Stiegel. Dangerous call. Reggie Durden, the immediate tackle, but it does move the chains.
I'm not sure Reggie Durden knew it moved the chains. He was up there celebrating. What a gutsy call from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I guarantee you that every so-called expert in this province, had that not play not worked, would have been second-guessing Jim Daly in a big way. But it goes from a real bad, questionable call to a gutsy call when it does work.
What a change for the Bomber offense. This is the 10th play of the drive. A pitch right side, Roberts. And he'll get down to the 35, 6 more, as he churns up some yardage and looks like he's headed for a first 100-yard game ever against the Owls.
Already in just 7 carries with 87 yards rushing. And what they've done is mix things up. They have got Charles Roberts outside of containment. And then when they get outside and spread out that Montreal defense, then they'll try and hit the creases inside.
Now they have Roberts and Stokes in the offense together. 2nd down. They'll try the same play left side with plenty of blocking. And Charles Roberts finally forced out by the safety Carey at the 25. And these Bomber fans are loving a dramatic change in their offensive fortunes.
Chris, success on first down can open up the playbook. There is no way in the world that the the Winnipeg Blue Bombers can run a play like this if they don't have success on first down. A little pitch to Charles Roberts turns into a big play and moving the chains once more. That keeps the defense off balance.
Started the night 5th in rushing. He's moving up the ladder, it would appear. He'll take a breather. And now Reichenbald, who had the 26-yard touchdown run, gets it to the 22-yard line. 3 for Reichenbald.
You know, you talked, Chris, earlier about the fact that there's been lots of changes to the Winnipeg offensive line in an area that they were criticized and have been criticized all season long. Well, they're playing a lot better against the premier defense right now in the Canadian Football League. The guys are getting off the ball and creating some bubbles for Charles Roberts.
When you ask them, what do you need to change? They all said, we need a sustained scoring drive to get our confidence. There's a pass inside and a drop from Kamal Peterson to snuff out what looked like a drive that was just what the doctor ordered.
And that's another one, of course. Kamal Peterson dropped a big one a couple of weeks ago against the Calgary Stampeders. Well documented. And the dropsies, I know it was a tough catch with James Wheatley over his shoulder, still hunting Kamal Peterson.
So Westwood called upon. Jamie Stoddard is the holder. Westwood missed from 47. This from 29. And no mistake for Troy Westwood. as the Bombers open up a 10-point lead. Don't forget about the Wendy's Kick for $1 million contest. One lucky fan will attempt to kick a field goal to win $1 million. And other great prizes live during TSN's halftime show in October. Log on to tsn.ca/Wendy's to enter.
And remember, if you make the 30-yarder, you get the Sony digital imaging package. And you miss the 40-yarder, okay, no problem, but you still get a crack at the $1 million. So you can add up a pretty nice little loot. Time's all over.
Look out, that's a live ball, and the Bombers are on it as it ricocheted off Patrick Dorvelis. They get it on the bounce, and Boyd Barrett back in the lineup. After missing last week, came up with the football.
The second big special teams play from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And this, folks, is a design call. Troy Westwood will try and find one of the guys up front that may be turning early. That was Philip Gauthier. He gets hit with the football right here. The ball hit hard at him. If the front row player is turning quickly to get his blocking assignment, this will be a design play seen on film by the Bombers and executed to perfection here tonight.
It's as if 4 weeks of bad luck is getting turned around here tonight. Glenn looks to the right side, and a catch is made. And that's Vinny Sutherland with his first of the evening. And we'd like to say hello to the Canadian Armed Forces watching from wherever posted around the world. Hope you're enjoying tonight's game from sunny Winnipeg. And also a warm welcome to our American viewers. And we know there are many of them watching on Comcast in Detroit, cheering on this man, Kevin Glenn, who's got things going for the Bombers. 2nd and 5, going up top, looking for Peterson, picked off. Richard Carey. There is a flag down, however, and it may be pass interference against the Owls.
Yeah, you wonder if Kamal Peterson, who is so far behind that play, wasn't held by the Alouettes secondary.
So Carey's third interception.
Pass interference. Montreal, number 18.
Yeah.
First down.
Has been wiped out on the Whitley penalty.
Formation change-up from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to put Kamal Peterson, normally an outside receiver, in the slot back position. Watch him work for inside position. Now, James Whitley can't grab his waist, and he can't be pushing him outside like that. That's why Kamal Peterson is so far away from the ball, and Carey comes up with the football.
Turns out to be a 22-yard gain. Wayne McGarity brought down on a sure tackle by Strickland, or else that might have been dangerous to the 26.
The rule for James Whitley on that play to Kamal Peterson is that you can protect your frame, you can protect your space, as long as your shoulders are squared to the line of scrimmage. The moment you turn and run with the receiver, you can no longer be jamming them or grabbing them. Whitley gets called on a big one because that was a turnover.
6 yards for McGarity. So Glenn's using all of his weapons. 2nd and 4. Short drop, completion, and close to another first down as Stiegel has the catch. Flag is down. Looks like they're going to mark Stiegel just short. And we'll have to await the flag as well.
You know, this is the one thing I've noticed more than anything. The difference between Kevin Glenn and T. Martin is how quickly...
Offside, Winnipeg, number 82. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down repeated.
How quickly Kevin Glenn is making decisions as to where to throw the football in comparison to T. Martin, who took that extra second. And in this game, with the ability of some of these defenses to get up the field, that extra split second is the difference between a completion and success and a sack or a poor play on offense. The decision-making process is a lot quicker right now with Kevin Glenn.
McGarity offside, so it's 2nd and 9. Glenn, open man, Keith Stokes. And he has another first down, skipping out at the 21.
There again, the decision and the read from Kevin Glenn. He recognized that Montreal drops in the zone defense this time. and it's a 3-deep zone. Well, every offensive coordinator will tell you that the weakness of a 3-deep zone is right there because the defender has to get the deep zone coverage. Kelly Melville dropped to that deep zone. There's in the weakness. Kevin Glenn recognized it immediately and hit Stokes for a first down.
6 different receivers have been deployed tonight already by Glenn. 1st and 10. Little dump pass. Reginald! Touchdown! He took it away from Tim Strickland. The old tight end showing you he's got the hands.
Boy, it is absolutely amazing what confidence will do for a football team. A couple of drives, a couple of plays on special teams, and a play that they just couldn't buy in the first 4 weeks of the season. Looks pretty easy for Scott Reginald.
Drought, what drought? This with the extra point. And the Alouettes have given up 24 points here in the opening half to the Blue Bombers. First ever receiving touchdown for Scott Reginald in the CFL.
Scott Reginald has done a lot of different things in this football game already. He's got the big run, he's got the receiving touchdown, but some key blocks for Charles Roberts.
Now Ezra Landry. Remember 2 weeks ago how he changed momentum. Boyd Parrott tracks him down. Came up with that loose ball on the last kickoff.
Talked about split seconds being the difference maker. Well, how about just body position? In this play to Scott Reginald, Timothy Strickland lines up here. Now Reginald, because it's zero coverage, knows he's going to the middle. There's no Alouettes there. Because of that, Timothy Strickland has got to stay on the inside shoulder of Scott Reginald. What does Reginald do? He gets that inside position. That gives him a better angle on the football. And although Timothy Strickland reacted, he wasn't there in time.
So now Anthony Calvillo has to go to work. Tries the left side with LaPointe. Not much there. There's Doug Brown, Stanford Samuels make the stop. This is how the Bombers got possession and started their 51-yard drive.
Then the pass interference on the outside to James Whitley. Kamal Peterson takes the turnover away. And Scott Reginald wins that fight.
Under 5.5 minutes left, first half. A surprising 17-point Bomber lead. Calvillo over the middle and guns the completion in.
Well, in a big picture kind of way, Chris, how big is this for the Winnipeg defense, who for the last 2-3 games have just battled and have come up on the short end of the stick? And not only that, they have played in 4 games 129 more minutes than the opposition. And Rod Rust is now seeing some first down from his offense, so he's got his defense getting a little bit of rest.
Defense might have been getting antsy on the sidelines. They're not used to being on the bench as long as LaPointe crashes down. Cavill with the catch for the first down, and then that 6-yard run by LaPointe.
Well, and Rod Rust, of course, the former Montreal Alouette coach, knows his opponent very well. And Rod Rust is in a great chess match right now with Doug Barry, and believe me, folks, the Montreal Alouettes are nowhere near out of this football game. They've got all the talent, they've got a great coaching staff.
Last time Calvillo faced Winnipeg, he passed for 475 yards. He has Terry Vaughn for a first down at the 50, and in that game last year, 4 touchdown passes. So it may not take long, and the rust may still be on a little bit after a bye, but let's not take anything away from what we've seen from Winnipeg tonight.
No, not at all, and especially the big improvements in 2 phases. Special teams, 2 huge plays there, and offense.
Dave Mudge has checked in at right tackle, the former Blue Bomber, taking Luke Fritz's spot. First down, Calvillo with plenty of time, and a catch is made. Terry Vaughn with the grab at the Winnipeg 32.
Well, and this play is made because of the play of that right tackle. The former Winnipeg Blue Bomber gets his chance, and on this first play, for the Montreal Alouettes. He does a nice job. Watch 6-7 on the outside on Gavin Walls. And that, folks, is called stoning your opponent right there.
Third catch for Terry Vaughn, and 3 former top offensive linemen in the CFL now out there in that offensive line for the Alouettes. LaPointe following them, not much there to the 30. But you've got Dave Mudge, Brian Chu, Uzumo Okeke, all top offensive linemen for Montreal. Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders can boast 3 men who have been the top offensive linemen, Mikowski, Green, and Childress, and now Montreal can do the same with Dave Mudge.
Dave Mudge getting a chance to play against his own old teammates, and he knows them well, having gone through training camp with them. Even Gavin Walls.
Brian Chu, Zumo KK, also former top men. Second and long, LaPointe out of the backfield. Nice move back inside, and Eric LaPointe has a first down for the Alouettes with 2.5 minutes left first half.
And they're going right to Mudge's side in the last 3 plays. A huge second down conversion for the Alouette offense because Dave Mudge completely dominates his man. Watch 67 one more time. Gavin Walls just cannot get a sniff, and when he tries to jump, Mudge cuts him down.
8th play of the drive. Dave Mudge 3 times the top offensive lineman in Winnipeg. Out of the gun, looking for the shovel, and then dishing it off, and LaPointe can't handle it. Incomplete.
Dave Mudge, you mentioned Chris, former outstanding offensive lineman in Canadian football with 6 great years with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Dominant left tackle, that tough position to play because it's the backside of a right-handed quarterback. Mudge one of the best involved in that trade this year with Aaron Fiacconi.
The big man out of Whitby. Alouettes wanted a tackle, and the Bombers wanted somebody playing inside. Cavill, look for Cavill. Incomplete. Tight coverage provided by Stanford Samuels. And it will be 3rd down.
Stanford Samuels had such good position. Remember we told you when the middle on that Scott Reginald touchdown is open, inside position is key. Watch Samuels keep inside position on Kwame Cavill. See, he takes away the easy throw, the inside throw down the middle. That's how you play it perfectly, taking away inside position with 0 coverage.
Well, Duval has been solid in Montreal, won that game dramatically 2 weeks ago with a 48-yarder. This from 26 with Cahoon holding. And Duval nails that. So the lead for Winnipeg is 14. Well, on the day the rights to Sidney Crosby have gone to Pittsburgh, there's Portage of Maine, where Bobby Hull signed his WHA deal many years ago. Tomorrow, Wendy's CFL Live, Saskatchewan at Calgary. The blackout's been lifted, and well, let's just say that's a highly anticipated game.
Let me just get this right. Did you just talk about hockey?
It was a shameless.
I'm kidding. Big news in the hockey world, obviously, tonight.
Here's Stokes faking the reverse, and up across the 40 before he's wrestled down by Michael Velmick.
Mike Velmick doesn't make that tackle. Stokes is still running. I mean, that's a big frame in Mike Velmick, 6'4", 238. And look at all the room that Keith Stokes has. He throws Wade Miller aside like he's one of those oversized mosquitoes in Manitoba. Steps up and puts Keith Stokes, one of the premier punt returners, on the ground.
He got fogged. Less than 2 minutes to go. Blue Bombers offense has been in flight, largely because of this man. Look at that cutback. Roberts across the 50, another carry, which should produce a first down. It does take him over the century mark. And so he has had 100 or more against every team in the Canadian Football League. He just hadn't put the notch in his belt for the Alouettes yet.
And this is the first game all season long that the Montreal defense has given up a 100-yard rusher.
Roberts had 108 a couple of weeks ago. Now the long out, and it is caught. And Jamie Stoddard hangs on.
Kelly Malville, I don't know, has to tighten down his chin straps, or he has to get it, like, tie it on a little tighter, or
You'd think with the hairstyle it'd be pretty tight already.
I was thinking maybe there's too much hair under there or something. I don't know. But it seems to me that every time he makes a hit, that helmet comes flying off. And I mean, him and Ezra Landry go to the same barber. I don't think they call them barbers. I don't know. They're called barbers. But
You know the Alouettes are going to have to play like their hair's on fire to come back. Roberts short gain on second down, so good stop there by the Alouette defense. Forces a punting situation with 1:13 to go.
Boy, all this good sign for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and their fans, though. As I mentioned, that the Montreal Alouettes defense have not given up a 100-yard rusher. They've played Josh Ronick, they've played Troy Davis. Neither got 100 yards rushing. And Charles Roberts already over 100 in this first half. All good news for Jim Daly. Winnipeg Blue Bombers against an elite team in the Canadian Football League.
I mentioned earlier, and it was very noticeable. Jim Daly couldn't have been more upbeat yesterday, especially considering the record. It's as if he knew this is the way his team was going to play tonight. John Ryan, the line drive kick, Landry inside the 10, Spitkovich down there, Neil McKinley down there, and there's nowhere for Landry to run. Great cover, Boyd Barrett also downfield, and a reminder that our panel will go to work. Let me guess, Chris Schultz might mention some offensive line play after this first half.
He's got to be proud from the old offensive line fraternity with the way the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have responded tonight. Matt Dunnigan has a perspective of what a running game can do in helping a quarterback have success on the football field.
Right now, we don't say this often, Anthony Calvillo could use jock climbing.
Yeah. You don't say that often is right. Not because of jock climbing, tremendous receiver, but because of the receiving core that Anthony Calvillo has played with over the last few years. But they're still trying to do the same thing offensively, which is establish Eric LaPointe, get some success on first down so that those quick outs to Ben Cahoon move the chains rather than force Don Matthews to throw the punt team on the field.
4 yards the length of that gain as Matthews looks on. Anthony Calvillo missed 2 days of practice because of the birth of his first child, but they declared him mentally ready to play. He did the extra film work before the arrival. Here's the point, second and short. Punish there. Woodson held him up, and then Gavin Walls came across to finish it off.
Well, Gavin Walls is quickly making a name for himself. We talked already about his great performance last week with 3 sacks versus the Edmonton Eskimos, but little plays like this which get the entire team standing up in the film room the day after the game, because he really has no business being involved in that play on the backside, but he hustles over and gets his helmet on Eric LaPointe.
The Alouettes are content to run out the clock in this opening half. Calvillo puts a knee down, and these fans will rise to their feet. Well, they have been starved for some offense, for some entertainment. They got it in that first half.
Man, that football. Here we go.
First win gonna be a big one. Let's do it.
It was the best half of the season so far for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They lead by 14. Their coach standing by was Sean Churchill.
Coach Daly, the presence of Kevin Glenn, what has it done to this team in the first half?
Well, you know, Kevin brings a little bit more experience, right? And he's starting to get the rust off. He hasn't played in a month, and You know, he brings some confidence and familiarity with the Montreal defense. Their defense is so different than everybody's that it helps to have Kevin there who's seen it for 4 years.
Thank you very much. Good luck on second.
This broadcast is available at TSN High Definition. For widescreen picture, visit tsn.ca/HD and call your digital cable or satellite provider. And the Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans like the view just the way it is right now, but 30 minutes of football against a high-powered opponent.
Yeah, and a 14-point spread against the Montreal Alouettes is nothing when you consider their weapons on offense. Key for Winnipeg to start this second half is to continue to match the intensity of the visiting team.
Keith Stokes bidding Sutherland. Dropping deep. Duval puts it in the air. Stokes inside the numbers. And now across the 35. Keith Stokes into Alouette territory and just tripped up. Great return, and it took Duval with some help from Wilson O'Neill to bring him down.
Instincts from Keith Stokes to get started, because this is a return that's probably supposed to come wide field, but Stokes, rather than take it too wide, he cuts it up the first seam he sees right there. He sees that seam, now he bounces it back to the outside where the play is designed to go and picks up great yardage.
A 51-yard return to set things up. The Bombers' initial possession of the second half, and they'll start it with Charles Roberts. And he's stuck by Dwayne Butler after 2 or 3. 6 possessions first half for Winnipeg, only 1 2-and-out for a team that was around 60% 2-and-out in the first 4 weeks.
Well, yeah, and I mentioned it last week, 17 possessions for the Winnipeg offense led by T. Martin. 13 of them went 2-and-out. And Jim Daly has seen more production, not necessarily because Kevin Glenn has put up big numbers, but his experience brings confidence.
Some early movement. Montebello from Montreal. Was he drawn offside by left tackle Dan Goodspeed?
You know, and this is a small thing, but it can make a big difference in that Kevin Glenn, we've seen offsides from the Montreal defense. He's an experienced quarterback, been around long enough, faced the Montreal defense before, and knows that simply by changing up his snap count, by using his voice to change when he calls for that football, can draw the offside. Now, I'm not sure if that's the case here just yet as the officials go over this, but he's drawn him offside, and that's a veteran move.
We talk about picture clarity and high definition. There'd be a lot to the clarity of the Bomber quarterbacking situation if Kevin Glenn can keep this score.
Offside, Montreal, number 90, 5-yard penalty, secondary field.
Montebello did jump first, and now they get a different second down play, 2nd and 2 instead of 2nd and 7.
Well, he did it again, and that was simply changing up the snap count.
Montebello getting most, if not all of the reps, instead of Mark Menya, who used to be the fixture at defensive end. Reginbald on 2nd and 2, and he'll plow down to the 30 and should have the first down. And Reginbald has been a key figure on this night.
Boy, is he ever. You know, not just the touchdowns, but the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, you heard Don Matthews talk about the fact that they've shown some schemes that have surprised the Montreal defense. Reginbald's got a couple of touchdowns, one here on the run when he basically took on Kevin Johnson and kept going, and then this great catch and fight with Timothy Strickland. But he's been a key component in blocking for Charles Roberts as well. And the new scheme I believe the Bombers are running is that wide toss to Charles Roberts, getting him outside, and Scott Reginbald is key in that play because he's got to go and block the end.
Saw Reginbald's nice numbers after coming into the game with 9 total yards rushing and receiving. It's 3rd and less than a yard, and Glenn will push behind Aaron Fiacconi, the former Alouette, who's the new center, Matt Sheridan and Mike Abu-Meshrek. And again, Abu-Meshrek, the only member of that offensive line that's had 5 straight starts in the same position.
And I truly believe that the scheme tonight from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers has really helped out the offensive line, because the balance between attacking the perimeter of the defense and running it up in the middle with Charles Roberts has given the offensive line a chance to get angles on the defensive linemen and make their blocks.
First down inside the Alouette 30. 3 receivers left. Roberts, whoa! James Whitley unloaded on Charles Roberts on arrival. And Whitley and Roberts both come up sore.
Well, they both come up trying to do their inventory. The timing is off with the bad snap. And when the timing's off for an offensive receiver heading to the flat with his eyes back to the quarterback, when the timing is off on a play like this is a knockout shot for James Whitley. And then both guys did their inventory. Okay, elbow, good. Shoulder, okay. Knee, not bad. All right, I'll be okay.
Still feeling it a bit, though. Just a long yard, and it's 2nd and 9.
Hey.
Glenn throwing, complete, across the middle, and Keith Stokes rumbling to the 3. 3rd catch of the night, the only member of the receiving corps with more than 1.
Keith Stokes gets the one-on-one on Timothy Strickland, who is a great cover linebacker, and Strickland actually does a nice job of jamming up Stokes, but Stokes is tenacious and keeps with it. It's going to happen to the right of your screen. Stokes trying to get inside position on Timothy Strickland, and finally does. Strickland has given up that inside twice now, both times. Big plays for the Bombers.
Glenn took a lick and came up limping. 1st and goal, Roberts left side, flag down to Roberts. Stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Anwar Stewart, the top defensive player in the CFL last year, closed the door.
Boy, and Kevin Glenn is still limping as he tries to get that offense in the end zone on this drive.
Is that the ankle, the high sprained left ankle? And he says, I'm okay.
Well, let's
Outside,
take a look quickly.
Montreal line. After this is goal line. First down.
At that play before, this is where he went hurt, and that left ankle did get twisted down on the way down and got buckled. Now, it'll be well taped, of course, but that kind of pressure on it, he will not hold on, so the ankle bothering him again.
And a 1st and goal from the 1. It'll be Roberts, number 1, touchdown.
Montreal just lost their composure after the fact. And the Bombers will get some extra yardage.
John Nix agitated, but they couldn't stop the diminutive one.
Charles Roberts, you can see Nix trying to get to that play, and he got up right after this touchdown and threw his helmet. And he threw it into the ground, so the Bombers will get some yardage added likely to the kickoff.
The most rushing yardage for any running back against Montreal this year was 66 by Josh Ronick. Well, that has changed dramatically tonight as Charles Roberts adds to his totals and caps a 7-play, 70-yard touchdown drive. Roberts up to 114 on the ground. And Westwood makes it a 7-point play. It's 31-10. Bombers here early, 3rd quarter. And the Alouettes have been perfect after the bye with Don Matthews at the helm, and this score that I don't think anybody anticipated. Less than 5 minutes into the 3rd quarter, and the Bombers have racked up 31 points. Away from Landry, and it's Terry Vaughn. And Vaughn stopped at the 15-yard line, so the Bombers are firing on all cylinders right now.
Well, it's amazing when you consider where they came from a week ago and such a courageous effort from their defense. They had the Edmonton Eskimos on the ropes in Commonwealth. In fact, they had the lead until the last play of that football game. And you think, coming off a loss like that Jim Daly's troops would have just been down and out. But he was very optimistic all week. He says he has an interesting set of athletes and coaches. They will be fine, and they will fight back, and they have done that in a big way.
4 receivers to the near side, a flag down. Calvillo in some trouble, and down. Doug Brown tripped him up, and they'll celebrate a sack, pending the flag. Well, is it a 3rd sack on the year for Doug Brown, or did somebody jump?
Looked like to the outside, an Alouette receiver may have been in that neutral
Offside.
zone.
Montreal, number 81, decline.
Boy, that's,
Gary Watkins left early.
that's a big move
81.
for Doug Brown. You see that big arm. He gets that right arm and swim move over Paul Lambert. And it's the Montreal Alouettes in a huge hole.
You know, he was saying yesterday, he sat on that bench with about 2 minutes to go in Edmonton. Sure, they'd won their first last week. They've got to have the sense here, but Montreal will try and change all of that. Dave Stala. Hard-fought yards up to the 21-yard line.
What a push.
3rd down.
What a push, Chris, from Doug Brown on back-to-back plays. Now, Calvillo does complete this, but Doug Brown will take this every time on 2nd and long, throw it short of the 1st down.
And he doesn't like doing this.
Yeah, he's not quite as animated with the shot where as some of the guys, but Doug Brown's one of those guys down there in the trenches, and he just put on a bull rush on that last play and ended up about 8 yards deep.
That's when he does his talking. Duval to kick it away. Stokes awaits at his 49. Couple blocks, and Keith Stokes surges, and they're out at the 35-yard line. Stokes has got it going against his whole team tonight. Always saw Doug Brown with his 3rd sack of the season, and for every sack in tonight's game, Purolator will donate the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank, and every sack helps Purolator tackle hunger across Canada. And you can see the Bombers mid-pack, but with a front 4 that's becoming a little more fearsome, and as Doug Brown just told us on camera during the break, with a lot more energy tonight because they aren't playing the whole game.
Yeah, he said by now we'd have 50 plays under our belt. and hey, the difference getting the lead and having a little confidence makes. Guys are smiling down on the bench and having some fun.
There's that toss that's been so effective tonight, and a cut back from Roberts. And whoa, Dwayne Butler tried to take off his head after a gain of about 3.
You know, and this has been the strength of the Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense. Doug Brown, Joe Fleming, Tom Canada, and the newcomer Gavin Walls. Here's another look. You see Canada gets good pressure upfield, and Brown just keeps fighting and finally pulls down Anthony Calvillo. In the very next play, a tremendous bull rush caused some problems again. So that defensive line feels much more rested tonight. Getting off the ball.
They'd averaged 36 minutes, 19 seconds per game on the field. Way too much. 2nd and 7. Ball batted down. Incomplete. Dwayne Butler with the knockdown.
Well, it's the right read from Kevin Glenn, and it's just you take the human element out of it, and he's got a completion. Dwayne Butler just gets up, climbs that ladder, and knocks it away because the read was made. You have to throw hot because of the blitz, and that's batted away by Dwayne Butler.
And this is where Troy Westwood wants to keep the momentum going. An attempt from 39 yards out. And Westwood solid. His 2nd of the night and 7th of the season. 8:31 on the clock, 3rd quarter. 34-10 Winnipeg as Eric Lapointe scampers up the right side. Close to a 1st down carry. However, there is a flag on the field. And a reminder to tune in next week for Wendy's Friday Night Football when the Calgary Stampeders take on the BC Lions. Coverage begins at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, and it is available in TSN HD. And again, we'll be in Calgary tomorrow to watch Henry Burris meet up with his former team for the first time.
Well, you know there'll be a lot of Saskatchewan fans in McMahon Stadium, which I understand is very close to a sellout. The blackout will be lifted for that one in Calgary tomorrow night.
Still a few tickets available. It'll be a great game if you can get down, but please join us if you can't make it to McMahon.
And there's a few busloads from Saskatchewan showing up, so the interesting game for both Henry Burris and Neil Longreen.
So the Alouettes with a first down at the 45. Calvillo looking deep down the sidelines, and a nice battle there between Kerry Watkins and William Fields, the defensive player of the week, the man who picked off 2 of Ricky Ray's passes in Edmonton.
You cannot play it any better against Kerry Watkins than William Fields played it there. From start to finish, he was stride for stride. Kerry Watkins can run. He's got some speed. And William Fields was right in his hip pocket and then turned and looked at the football.
What did Jim Daly tell us about William Fields yesterday? Man on a mission.
Yeah.
Let go by the Calgary Stampeders. Trying to prove they made a mistake. 2nd and 10. Here's a completion. Ben Cahoon across the middle. And finally brought down by Brad Franklin. Big gain for the Alouettes.
How many times have we seen Ben Cahoon sit down and wait for Calvillo to throw it into a hole in the defense? This time he recognizes that Lamar McGriggs has got real wide and comes all the way across the middle. You see Lamar McGriggs 36 in chase. That's just smart heads-up play from Ben Cahoon, realizing that he had to come through the defense rather than sit down in the defense.
3rd catch for Cahoon, who was 3rd in the league coming into this game. That was a 27-yarder, and now the Alouettes look at first down. Calvillo has Cahoon open, deep, touchdown, Montreal! As Calvillo teams up with his old favorite once again.
And this move from Ben Cahoon is unbelievable. He gives Justin Coleman chop steps from the right side of your screen to the outside, blitz coming, one-on-one coverage, and Coleman has been hacked. Unbelievable move from Ben Cahoon.
So the Alouettes strike quickly back as Cahoon has his 2nd touchdown catch of the year. Well, a guy without blazing speed, but you don't need blazing speed to get that wide open.
He's a route runner, and he has the speed. He has speed that you can't take for granted. It's like that game speed. When the ball's in the air, he'll go get it.
So the lead now 17 here in Winnipeg. Well, a reminder, you can text message your vote for the Rogers Player of the Game using your Rogers phone during the 4th quarter and send to Go CFL. If you're a Montreal fan, there's a candidate just about every week. There's another, and you could mention both guys in the Winnipeg backfield.
Scott Reginbo with a couple of touchdowns from the fullback spot. Could be a candidate for Player of the Game.
Well, the Alouettes gave you a taste of how explosive they can be. 4 plays, 75 yards. Now the Bombers like to answer right back and reestablish the control they have had. And we mentioned the Player of the Game, but I know you're also sifting through your notes because you're looking for the Gladiator too.
Well, I've seen a couple of great series out of Doug Brown up front for the Winnipeg defense, but you know, I like Keith Stokes as well. He's provided some return yardage, closing in on 80 or just over 80, and is winning the battle against Ezra Landry. And I love the way Stokes does it. He takes 6-7 hits a return to fight for every single yard, and you know he's been involved in the offense as well tonight. The big catch down around the goal line.
Big part of that offense. They swing it out. Roberts behind the line and doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage. Tim Strickland with the tackle on Charles Roberts.
Well, Anthony Calvillo has to hold the football for a little bit longer because of the move that Ben Cahoon is doing down the field. can see how open he is, but Calvillo has to take the hit to complete that pass because of the move that Ben Cahoon was running. He was running a double cut out and then down the sideline. Calvillo paid the price for the touchdown to Cahoon.
Now a big play for the Montreal defense. Trying to force it 2 and out, 2nd and 12. Kevin Glenn, long out, look out. Kelly Malvo's got an interception by the corner. Kelly Malvo, and suddenly the momentum has swung dramatically to the Alouettes.
Sure has, and Kelly Malvo, he was so quick on this jump and this read that he had to stop and go back to catch the football. He has to go back over his right shoulder because he jumps this one so quickly that he's thinking 6 points and then has to stop and come back to catch it, much like a receiver would do. That's some kind of read from Kelly Malvo.
Eastern All-Star last year, first interception of this season, and suddenly the Alouettes poised to score across the middle and a completion to Cavill. And he's knocked out at the 13-yard line. And suddenly there's a little swagger in the Alouettes walk.
Well, it was all Winnipeg up until one series, a couple of Ben Cahoon plays, a nice catch, and all of a sudden that confidence that has been in the balance for Winnipeg for so many weeks, for 4 weeks of this season, is slipping away from them and on the Montreal bench.
First down at the 13. 13 to work. LaPointe to the 10. And good defensive stand there. Willie Bell stepped in. Samuels and Fleming in the neighborhood.
Year after year, when Anthony Calvillo has ever got in trouble, he's gone to Ben Cahoon, and against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, pretty good numbers. And why not, with 9 touchdowns, go to Ben Cahoon one more time to get confidence for your football team?
Is this Ben Cahoon territory? 2nd and 7. From the 10. Looked like the Alouettes were offside. A completion, Cavill will be stopped short. Wes Lysak moving up from the safety spot. And again, it looked like a Alouette receiver was offside, and that's the indication from Lazarick, referee Ken Lazarick. And looked like they were a yard or 2 short. Jim Daly wants them to decline the penalty. Would Montreal gamble now?
Offside, number 86, decline. 3rd down.
I was going to say, Ben Cahoon, you got to credit that call to the 13th man here in Winnipeg. Packed stadium that was loud and vocal. They caused Ben Cahoon to not hear the snap count. And I think Don Matthews is going to go ahead and go for it.
He sure is, and it's 3rd and a healthy 3 yards. In comes the jumbo team, including Anwar Stewart. And we've seen him as an eligible receiver. Billinick lines up at tight end. 3rd, and we'll call it 4. Cavillo into the end zone. Up for grabs. Still loose. Picked off. Bombers have it. Fields fumbles, but it's Winnipeg football at the 7-yard line.
Oh, baby. Ben Cahoon thought he touched it out of bounds and is arguing his case right now. It goes off his chest, and it is a jump ball. Calvillo has to throw. It's too far to go with the running game. A hard throw over the middle, off the helmet of Ben Cahoon. He doesn't know where it is. Now watch as this play progresses. Fields is going to drop it. Cahoon thought he touched it as it went out of bounds. I don't think he did.
No, doesn't look like it from that angle.
There's the William Fields interception. Now the ball is out, not touched by anybody. Cahoon tried to argue that he touched it there. They say no shot.
Big defensive stand. Now Roberts. Look at that sidestep. Wow. Charles Roberts with an unfair.
Come on.
Darryl Crutchfield is looking for equipment.
Oh, man. Darryl Crutchfield has position. He has the angle. All he doesn't have is Charles Roberts from the left of your screen in this corner. You're going to see 26 show up. Look at this. Now watch this move, folks. Look at that inside cut, and then back out to the outside on Crutchfield. And you're right, Chris. He's out there right now just picking up equipment. I got to get my shoes. I lost my spat. Where's my helmet? Whoa, what a move.
5 more for Roberts. 2nd and 5. Glenn trying to get out of trouble over the middle, and he just misses Milt Stiegel. And Milt would have been off to the races.
Well, every one of the Montreal defenders, Chris, had jumped the ball. And Stiegel was allowed to slip in behind. Now, the ball is thrown on a line. That's why the defenders are jumping it, and it goes off the hands and up over everybody.
And War Stewart did get a paw on the ball, and that thwarted what would have been a huge play for the Bombers and Milt Stiegel. So now John Ryan, who has had 3 punts blocked this year, has to face a team that's got a pretty good reputation for punt blocks. Or do they concede 2? And Wade Miller jumps. And we just deliberately. We saw this last year on occasion with the intention that they're going to concede the safety anyway.
Procedure. Winnipeg, number 34. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Well, you have to believe it was intentional because John Ryan has the leg strength to punt it out if he's 2-3 yards deep in his end zone. Now, really, Jim Daly has no option. He's going to give Ezra Landry field position in already field goal position.
Ryan, the leading punter, 52.6 yards a kick. And here we go again, and not sure what the value in this is.
Procedure. Winnipeg, number 34. Half of this is the goal line. Still 3rd down. Time will start at the snap of the ball.
Well, the other thing the officials could probably go to is deliberate delay a game and unsportsmanlike conduct if it's continued, because this is something that seriously has to be looked at from a league level.
They're not taking time off the clock.
1 is one thing, 2 or 3 is this looks push.
And now Ryan will try and kill some time. And John Ryan does step out. 2:22 to go, 3rd quarter. 2 points more on the board for Montreal. NASCAR fans, tune in Sunday for the Pennsylvania 500. Coverage begins with the pre-race show at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 Pacific. Available in TSN HD. So the lead now is 15 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And the Alouettes take over the football at their own 35 after the safety conceded by Jim Daly. Deal with the pump and go, and there's Cahoon.
Oh, baby! That's a fumble.
It is, and it's Winnipeg football. Wes Lysak with an enormous hit, and now Fells is face masked downfield by Terry Vaughn. A huge turnover. The hit that separated Lysak, or check that, Cahoon from the ball, and Fells has another fumble recovery.
Ben Cahoon is wide open, and Wes Lysak comes across and drops the hammer. Look at this hit.
Whoa.
And the entire Winnipeg bench erupted.
And so did this stadium after they showed it on replay.
What a hit from the safety spot. Folks, that's the best one of the year right there.
And I know you love to see that.
Oh, man.
Yes, that's a safety's dream.
The leader of that secondary. That's big time.
Well, the return by Fells, the face mask against Terry Vaughn, and this football is down at the Montreal 15.
This is worth 1, 2, 3 more looks.
Now, Alouette fans are saying, did he have a foot down? Was that a catch? And Lysak planted him as he put his feet on the ground. Simultaneous, and I think the right call.
I think so too, because Ben Cahoon, and hey, give him credit for jumping up after the hit. I mean, that puts a lot of guys in the hospital. And he comes across, and I thought he had possession because he turned his back to brace himself, had both hands over the ball, but it didn't matter how tough he was hanging on that ball. Wes Lysak separated the football from the receiver.
The former St. Vital Mustang, local boy making good. And Ben is glad to be in one piece, we hope, at that Montreal bench. 2nd and 10, Glenn. And he threw to a spot behind the intended receiver, Wayne McGarity.
And McGarity didn't read the defense like Kevin Glenn read it and continued on and actually ran into coverage. So you'd have to put that one on Wayne McGarity based on the fact that he just ran into a Montreal defender, and Kevin Glenn can't convert this huge hit from Wes Lysak into 7 points, which really grabs a ton of momentum. As it is, the Montreal Alouettes get a bit of momentum back with the 2-and-out and a field goal attempt.
So Westwood trying to make it an 18-point game as he sizes up this 22-yarder. Spotted by Stoddard. And it's good for Westwood. It's going to be his Pittsburgh, too. Kid owns the town already. What a day it's been. Interesting night of football, too. And Dutch and Dan O'Toole will have all the news of the day. And it has been an historic day. Coming up following football, and we're far from done. I mean, at 15 points before that play, Cahoon made the catch. If he'd hold on, you get the feeling Montreal was just really surging.
And their offense is still moving, so yeah, it's far from over, but talk about Sports Center. Lots of news to talk about tonight, but my vote for highlight of the night, win, lose, or draw for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is Wes Lysak.
And we have a new gladiator candidate to boot.
And hey, and you know what, Ben Cahoon, who's back in there, he can be a candidate. Just the fact that he took the hit and jumped back in there.
1st and 10, LaPointe. That search run to midfield has 5. 1 second left on the clock here in the 3rd quarter.
You know, you talk to coaches and you go back to coaches in Calgary and coaches here in Winnipeg, they really feel that Wes Lysak is becoming one of the premier safeties. He's got a great understanding, he's got terrific ball sense, and he arrives in a bad mood.
He had a 2-interception game against Calvillo last year, but I think he enjoyed that hit even more. And on the final play of the 3rd quarter, a 1st down run by Eric LaPointe. 18 points the lead as we head home in the 4th. Stats after 3 quarters brought to you by Rona, the how-to people.
Well, good news for Bomber fans. Looks like they finally found some offense with 17 first downs. Now, Anthony Calvillo and the Alouette offense isn't done yet, but 17 points off turnovers for the Bombers, the difference tonight.
And Calvillo's offense has been on the field for less than 20 minutes. It's an area Winnipeg hasn't led this year. 1st and 10, and AC throwing in the flat and has a completion to Kerry Watkins. So late in that 3rd quarter, there was the interception by William Fields and the big hit causing the fumble by Wes Lysak. And you get the impression Winnipeg still needs to make a lot of defensive plays.
Well, the one concern when coming out at halftime was could they continue to match the intensity of what is always a very intense Montreal offense and defense. They've done that, but they have to maintain it. Remember, they had the one letdown in Edmonton at the wrong time.
1st down, Alouettes inside the Winnipeg 40. Calvillo in trouble and downed. And Tom Canada has his 1st sack of the night, his 3rd of the year.
Boy, a hit from your free safety really ignites and re-energizes. And if the Winnipeg defense started to feel a little bit tired as this game was wearing on, they certainly were re-energized by the Wes Lysak hit, because this was all effort from Tom Canada. Upfield, cuts back, being held, has to knock down his own teammate, comes up with a sack.
Bombers have the lead in that department. 2nd and 14. Calvillo for Terry Vaughn. Sticky fingers and a nice catch in front of Brad Franklin. He will be short of the first down.
Franklin got the two-hander in the back to Terry Vaughn, and Vaughn hangs on because he got the push. It became a very difficult catch up over his head. As it stands, he'll be well short, and the field goal team from Montreal will have to come on the field.
And so Duval brought on. Vaughn gets it into field goal range. And this attempt comes from the 40. Cahoon with the spot. And Damon Duval nails that. It's a 15-point lead for the Blue Bombers. Let's join Sean Churchill on the Bomber sidelines.
Thank you very much, Chris. Charles Roberts took a helmet on the knee, but he will be fine. But the news is not so good for long snapper Chris Kovac. He is on the sidelines out of uniform with a possible concussion. John Osterhaus takes over that role.
There is Charles Roberts, short gain, just gets back to the line of scrimmage in a situation where the Bombers would love to chew up some clock.
Well, Kevin Glenn's numbers may not be all that impressive, but his confidence and his experience has brought something to this offense that the Bombers haven't seen all year. Certainly didn't under T. Martin. 3 games he started, 12.7-point average. Kevin Glenn last year in 7 starts, over 30 tonight. Again, over 30 with Kevin Glenn at helm.
Big play for Kevin Glenn. He Stokes, hit screen, Stokes across the 40. To the 44-yard line. He is a yard short. And Jim Daly may be tempted, or would he be?
Well, his offensive line has been playing very well tonight. His running game is going. All those factors indicate that he may be real tempted to go ahead and get this. It also, Chris, keeps the ball out of Montreal's hands for another set of downs if he can get it.
And he's going to go for it as Tom Canada, Wade Miller, John Osterhaus come in to beef it up.
Hey, listen, they gambled on a 3rd down and threw the football and got it. They're playing aggressively against this Montreal Alouette football team.
Well, they have to get to the 45. Miller sets up at the fullback spot. Charles Roberts not going to get there.
Nope.
Did not make it. Tim Strickland filled the hole, and they turn it over on downs.
I still like the call from Jim Daly. The exchange from Kevin Glenn to Charles Roberts does not look like a good one. He's juggling the football, but whether he had it or not, the penetration from that Montreal defense was not allowing this first down to happen. They got up the field. Strickland will wrap up the tackle, but it was Kevin Johnson with the initial penetration that created the havoc.
Well, a heavy traffic zone, and Roberts had no chance. 2-score game. And the Alouettes still have life with under 11.5 minutes to go. Open man is Kwame Cavill to the 31. An Alouette first down, and you just sense that Calvillo is in far better rhythm in the second half.
Well, he is. I mean, he's got the football team rolling, and other than a big hit from Wes Lysak, has really been making the perfect reads, getting the ball to the open man, and he's figured out this Winnipeg defense a little bit.
First down at the 31, Montreal. Big to the point. Outside it goes, and Dave Stala drops it. Is it a live football? No, incomplete.
Well, it's not where Stala is in relation to the line of scrimmage. It is where it's if he's in relation to the quarterback, and that was certainly a forward pass from Anthony Calvillo.
And a rare drop from the young Canadian as Calvillo approaches 300 yards again. He is over 350 in 3 of his last 4 starts against the Bombers. I mentioned 475 in his last outing of 2004 against Winnipeg. 2nd and 10. And wide open is Kerry Watkins. And another first down for the Owls.
Anthony Calvillo, one of the few quarterbacks left in the Canadian Football League that calls his own plays. In this second half, and specifically in this 4th quarter, Calvillo has got in a rhythm. Goes right to that wristband to get the next one.
Alouettes threatening again. 10 minutes remaining, 4th quarter. Lots of time, looking for Cahoon again. What a catch. Ben Cahoon giving you the all-star credentials on one spectacular grab.
We have seen some big plays in this football game. Some big hits. And now you just saw, man, one of the great catches of the year so far. Similar move. Double cut down the seam, but the one hand from Ben Cahoon and got both feet in. A simultaneous catch goes to the offense. Touchdown, Montreal.
As good as there's been, Ben Cahoon. And the Alouettes are within 8. Well, Ben Cahoon, nothing short of spectacular. 6 catches, 143 yards. That 18-yard grab, as good as we've seen all season, and a pair of touchdowns.
Having to come back from the hit from Wes Lysak.
We have another Gladiator candidate.
Oh, boy.
And we've got ourselves a football game. Stokes on the reverse. Has to change direction to sidestep Butler. And then drilled by Butler from behind.
When you go back to that hit from Wes Lysak, and I mentioned that this takes a lot of football players out of the game. A hit like this, and Ben Cahoon could easily have said, you know what, that's enough. He got up, fought for the football, got back in the next series, and then makes a spectacular catch after taking that big hit. And you're absolutely right, Chris. That puts him right at the top of the list as a Gladiator candidate.
Justin Coleman now has his hands full. Pitch to Roberts. The cutback into traffic. Going nowhere. In fact, going in reverse. And now the Alouette defense makes a statement.
Well, and it all starts with a gamble from Jim Daly. I like the call, but the execution from the Montreal defense, absolutely perfect. Kevin Johnson from the middle gets penetration. Tim Strickland from the backside makes a tackle on Roberts, who really never had the handle. And it's all Montreal now.
A loss of 8. Glenn looking at second and 18 from inside his 20. Safety blitz being shown. Here comes Kerry, and Wayne McGarity dropped it into the hands of Reggie Durden. An interception with a flag down, and Durden headed inside the 5. Wayne McGarity had his hands on the ball and let it fall into the hands of Reggie Durden, but what is the penalty?
We'll check the penalty. First of all, Wayne McGarity had problems early on reading the defense. That wasn't his problem that time, because he read the right route to run. The safety, Richard Carey, had come out of the middle.
5, decline, first down.
But this drop is crucial, because right to the right of your screen, safety Carey is coming on the blitz. There's no one in the middle. That's where Wayne McGarity has to get to. He's there. If he catches that ball, he goes the distance. It goes through his hands. No one is behind Reggie Durden.
Durden's first interception of the year, 3 turnovers by the Bombers in their last 5 possessions. The Malvo interception, the 3rd down gamble that didn't work, and now Reggie Durden, and we're in for quite a finish. LaPointe down near the goal line, flag down as LaPointe crashes to the 2.
Another flag thrown from the umpire, which could mean a holding in there.
Got guys pointing both ways here. And it appears against Montreal.
Holding. Montreal, number 65. 10-yard penalty. First down repeated.
Paul Lambert, the left guard, charged with the hold. And that takes it back out to the 15. Clock running, less than 8 minutes to go. First down over. First and goal from the 15. Here comes the pressure. Calvillo through to the corner, no one home. Incomplete.
They tried to get Ben Cahoon from the weak side of the formation deep into the back of the end zone. This time, Wes Lysak, the safety, went over to help on Cahoon. When Anthony Calvillo saw that, he just threw it away. He knew he didn't have his primary target. Everyone was covered.
So now Lysak and company try to clamp down. Second and goal from the 15. The big lead down to 8. Calvillo steps up, throwing into the end zone, wide open. Kerry Watkins, touchdown Montreal. And they're within a 2-point convert.
The entire Bombers secondary saw Calvillo run, and they came out of coverage. When Calvillo steps up in the pocket, the entire secondary felt that he was going to run for the touchdown. They came out of coverage. Cahoon was open. Kerry Watkins was open. The entire Montreal Alouette receiving corps was open in behind them because they were worried about the DBs stopping Anthony Calvillo.
So now the 2-point convert to tie. 4 receivers right. Calvillo slipped, throwing, and Cahoon stretching. Did he get the plane? Yes. What a play for Ben Cahoon. The lunging catch and then the reach to break the play. It's all tied, and so much of it because of 86, Ben Cahoon. Tonight's game story brought to you by Sport Check, the power of sport. Plenty of storylines.
Well, the Bombers got their offense going, but Anthony Calvillo can never be ruled out. He passes Sam Echeverry tonight. We'll still hear from him as this game goes on. The Alouettes are on a roll right now. 2-point convert to Ben Cahoon. He battles for it, and it's Wes Lysak that gives him the hit. Crosses the plane there. Here comes the hit. That is 2 points. And that's why Cahoon celebrates, because it was Lysak who hit him earlier. He gets the play on Lysak there.
Not sure if it was the punt into the end zone or a little tap on Lysak's shoulder, but Cahoon got a 10-yard objectionable conduct penalty. Vinny Sutherland on the run and couldn't keep in bounds. Steps out with the 37. The lead was 21 for the Bombers at its largest, 34-13, but we're even at 37 with just under 7 minutes on the clock.
Jim Daly's got to be concerned now with his football team and that self-doubt creeping back into their minds. They came out with great intensity to start the game, finished the first half with great intensity. Third quarter was all Winnipeg. Now the tide has changed. Can they battle back through this adversity?
Remember, 3 turnovers, last 5 possessions, and everybody moving too quickly.
You know, and the key to that for Kevin Glenn in this Winnipeg offense is to not all of a sudden become conservative.
Winnipeg, number 51, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
In 3 quarters when Winnipeg was having success, first down was their key. They were having tons of success. The last 2 series for Kevin Glenn, he's been 1st and 18 after a huge loss, and then now he's 1st and 15.
Biacconi called for procedure. So it is 1st and 15, and the Alouettes going blitz. And they're sending the house, but again, play doesn't get off. And
well, the self-doubt is there because, you know, you saw Wayne McGarity when...
Procedure, Winnipeg, number 54, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Matt Sheridan this time.
When the tide changes, McGarity drops a huge pass. What could have been a touchdown for Winnipeg, a confident Winnipeg squad catches that in the 3rd quarter and takes it to the house. One that has self-doubt creeping back in, drops it, it turns into a turnover. Now they're going backwards.
In this second half, we're finally seeing the reemergence of that sting defense that's been so powerful. Roberts, good run across the 40. So Charles Roberts with his best run of the second half after hitting the century mark in the opening 30 minutes.
First half, 109 yards for Charles Roberts. Second half, just 17. 2 things involved there. One, Winnipeg hasn't seen the football as much in the second half because Montreal's offense is rolling. And the big plays are happening on the opposite side of the football.
Big run for Roberts, 14. Sets up 2nd and 6 from the 40. Back to Roberts. Big hole! Goodbye! Nothing but daylight for Charles Roberts. 69 yards. And it gets noisy here at Canada Stadium again.
Go back to what brought you. If the run works in the first half, why not run it in the second half? 1st and 20, they go with Roberts. Then they go on 2nd down, and if you run blitz and you get 1 crease offensively, goodbye.
That's the guy who talked about a 2,000-yard rushing season.
He got off to a slow start, but he's making up for it tonight.
195-yard night for Charles Roberts, but more importantly, the lead reestablished. They botched the convert, and now it's just 6 points, and that could be costly. Remember, the snapper's injured, and they botch the point after.
Hesitation against a blitz will get you every time. Watch one of the best tacklers in the game hesitate at the point of attack in Kevin Johnson. He's up in there, hesitates with that little hop step, and that's all it takes for Charles Roberts to get past that line of scrimmage, and then there is no one.
The longest run play in the Canadian Football League this year. $69 yards for Charles Roberts. Josh Roddick with a 66-yarder last Saturday against Calgary. But those are the numbers we've become accustomed to seeing from Roberts. But remember, we mentioned earlier, the only team he'd never rushed for 100 against, the Montreal Alouettes.
Well, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers can't start celebrating just yet. That botch snap is crucial, and they may need Roberts again. And don't forget, Ezra Landry's back there.
Mr. Field position. He's not going to get a touch, though. Again, Terry Vaughn. And Vaughn, across the 45, gets it back out close to the 50-yard line. So an Alouette offense that is hitting on all cylinders in the second half. It's good field position thanks to Terry Vaughn.
And with 5:06 left, Montreal doesn't really have to panic just yet. they can actually take field goals to tie it if they find themselves in field goal range and in second and long. Anthony Calvillo should see the football maybe 3 or 4 more times before this is over.
Maybe on his way to another 400-yard evening. Short pass, Watkins, who has a touchdown catch and at least 5 grabs in each game so far this year. Close to another first down.
And that's exactly what Calvillo is doing here. He's patient with the offense. A lot of young quarterbacks in this kind of situation would go down the field thinking they have to win it right now, and he doesn't. He's got plenty of time on the clock, and field goals can still put him back in this game and can still tie the game up. He needs 2 possessions there if he gets in second and long.
Well, this is a candidate for game of the year.
Oh, is it ever? All of Manitoba watching this one. I know they've enjoyed it from start to finish. Their football team played with a lot of intensity, but they're going to need to play for another 4:47.
Well, Wendy's Friday night football excitement from Winnipeg, where it has been a tough night for the defenses. They come up just short, which might be the good news for the Alouettes. A lot of play calls on second and a foot or 2.
Calvillo could fake it up in the middle and go over the top, try and catch Winnipeg, thinking he's just going to sneak it.
Second and short, and Calvillo will look downfield. Watkins in the seam, inside the 20-yard line. Finally brought down by William Fields.
Defensively, you always have to guard against in second and short, second and inches, this play, because it's a throwaway play for Anthony Calvillo. Mike Philimick always gets the football, number 35 in this instance. He gets in there as the fake, takes the hit to open up and in behind for Watkins. Throwaway play, but the Alouettes make a big one.
The ball on the Winnipeg 19, first down Montreal. Eric Lapointe cut down at the 15-yard line by Gavin Walls.
Well, I mentioned that field goals get you back if you get 2 of them for Alouettes, but now as they get this close and inside the red zone, you got to think it may be 3-down football for Anthony Calvillo.
Sizing up second and 6. 3.5 on the clock on a memorable night in the Manitoba capital. Inside, Terry Vaughn to the goal line, and they're going to mark him down at the 1. That's how close Don Matthews' crew is from tying it with the point after to come.
With 3:05 left, the effort from the Winnipeg defense to keep Terry Vaughn out will essentially give their offense a few more seconds with the football.
Well, they have stopped the clock with 3 minutes, and they have given the 3-minute warning to the benches here at Canada Stadium. Alouettes break the huddle. First and goal from the 1 as they hunker down. And the give to the second man, Lapointe, touchdown Montreal. So this game is tied, and the Alouettes still have a point after to attempt. And in this second half, Glenn, Bombers just have no answer on defense.
Well, Calvillo's got on a roll, and he is using every receiver. We've seen Ben Cahoon back involved. Terry Vaughn got him down to the 1-yard line, and then it's Eric Lapointe to tie this football game up. Now, for Winnipeg fans, they have lots of time with 2:50 to move the football down offensively. And they've had success on offense for the first time this year.
And now Duval for the lead. It is good. And on a night where so much crazy stuff has happened, It's hard to imagine the difference here is a botched convert, largely because the long snapper for the Blue Bombers gets hurt, and it's just bad luck compiling here for the Bombers.
Well, so far the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Chris, have been able to overcome that adversity in this game and climb back in and grab the lead, keep the lead, and hang on to it. But now they have to come back. Now there is time on the clock for this football team to come back. Kevin Glenn has to keep that running game going with Charles Roberts against this great defense.
Well, both teams have time to get their hands on the football again. 2:51 is, as we all know, an eternity, especially in a game like this where we've already had 87 points up on the board. 25 points in the last 4 possessions for the Alouettes. Ed Fillion was saying that he didn't remember the last time Montreal won on a last-second field goal when they did it 2 weeks ago on Friday Night Football with David Duval. Maybe we better get used to it.
Yeah, they love playing on Friday nights. There's no question. You walk around and warm up. Guys are pretty pumped up to be in the feature game of the week. We got a beauty here tonight.
Here's Vinny Sutherland, the former NFL kick returner, with world-class speed and a decent return up near the 40 before James Whitley tracks him down.
Couple of schools of thought here now for Kevin Glenn. With 2:45, there's still plenty of time. Charles Roberts has had a huge game. Now, you know one thing, the Winnipeg defense will be keyed up to stop Charles Roberts on this series. And maybe this is the one time that Kevin Glenn goes to some play action, uses Charles Roberts as the decoy, as great a game as he's had, and try and go over the top.
For the first time tonight, Kevin Glenn and the Bombers trail in the football game. They go to work. Here's McGarity. And McGarity, game tackle. Kelly Malvo there first, but he had plenty of support. And that's little or no gain. In fact, it might be a loss of a half yard.
Well, interesting play here because Kevin Glenn now in 2nd and long. If he doesn't convert the first down, Jim Daly will be forced to decide with probably over 2 minutes, do you punt the football, put your defense on the field, try and get the 2 and out and have a chance for a field goal.
So 2nd and 10, 4 receivers wide side. Glenn has time, looks to McGarity, and he's got this one at the 41 of Montreal. So the GOAT earlier comes back with a big catch when the Bombers need it the most.
Well, good on Kevin Glenn to go right back to Wayne McGarity, because after the drop early on, he's right in here. McGarity goes down the seam, 4 receivers to the wide side. And good on Kevin Glenn to go back to him, because that's a big catch in a crucial moment. He could have just ruled out McGarity for the rest of this game and didn't.
At the 41, a first down. I'm not sure if the Bombers can be comfortable thinking about a field goal as Matt Sheridan jumps early, and that'll set them back 5. But remember, Chris Vetkovich out of the game. They botched because of a bad snap, the convert that is the difference. So can Jim Daly think just getting to field goal range here?
Missed convert, you mentioned the difference right now, and here it is. We'll take a look. It's right behind the goalpost. The snap 1 hops, and there's no chance to get it on the ground.
That was Matt Sheridan that snapped that football. First and 15. Fake to Roberts. Glenn keeps. Glenn down at the 34. There is a flag in the defensive backfield of the Alouettes.
But they did in a key moment go to that play action, and it worked except for the penalty. Because that's a huge play on first down, and it was field goal range. Now, what was the penalty?
It's a hold against Winnipeg.
Holding Winnipeg, number 85, is 4 yards gain, back to the point of last scrimmage, 10-yard penalty, first down repeat.
It is a first down over again, and they'll march it back on Stiegel.
Milt Stiegel right in the middle of your screen. He's coming across. Now he knows play. He's got to work outside. You get the hands outside of the shoulders, it's going to be called every time. Milt Stegall did not argue because he didn't have an argument. That's holding. The officials make the right call, and it puts Winnipeg out of field goal position and in a bind on second and a bunch.
First
and a bunch.
But it's a bunch.
It's a bunch.
As Ken Lazaruk made it clear, that penalty was before the yards were gained, so it is first down at 25. Open was Peterson, and the ball just overthrown as he was open in the seam.
Wow, and how much did that miss Kamal Peterson? He is the outside receiver, going to work his way to the middle and go down the seam. Kamal Peterson working on the same side as Stoddard. He is open.
Richard Carey. Carey was in the vicinity, lining him up. And now second and 25. And they look for Stegall. He's got it. Milt Stegall. Touchdown. What a night in Winnipeg. 56 yards.
And it's not over yet.
Lots of time. But how do you like the Blue Bombers' moxie?
Well, how do you like the composure from Kevin Glenn?
And Milt made up for a rare penalty at the biggest of times.
The touch on that football from Kevin Glenn, absolutely perfect to allow Milt Stegall to work behind coverage on the full blitz from the Montreal Alouette defense.
49-44, and now they'll go for two. They'll try and make it a 7-point game. Out of the shotgun. Glenn has time, and a completion for two. Wayne McGarity, who got it started with a 31-yard catch. Bombers by 7.
How you battle adversity really determines the outcome of a game. Look at the composure as Kevin Glenn on this touchdown has to allow Stegall to get in behind the coverage. He puts great touch on the football. He knows one thing. His veteran can recognize the blitz and will go to the middle. He's working on Timothy Strickland, who for the third time tonight gives up inside position. The ball is perfectly thrown, and Stegall is gone. And talk about making amends and battling from adversity. How about Wayne McGarity? A crucial drop early on, and then two big catches. And Kevin Glenn wants to hear it from the fans, and he got it.
You know, I was going to say earlier the drive we showed 120 yards passing, and it really doesn't flatter the kind of game Kevin Glenn's had. But he beefed up the stats and just gave his team the lead.
Now, there's time. 141 for Anthony Calvillo is plenty of time.
You know, these are great fans in Winnipeg, and well, they live and die with this team, and right now they're loving what they see, but they know minute 41 left. Still plenty can happen. The squib kick scooped up by Wilson O'Neill, and the ball at midfield. Well, it's time now for Glenn's Gladiator, brought to you by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. Great steaks, good friends. See you tonight.
Honorable mention to Ben Cahoon, because after this hit, he made a great catch in the end zone for a touchdown. But no matter what the outcome, on one play alone, Wes Lysak gets tonight's Gladiator for what was a huge hit. And I hate that last call from Jim Daly to squib kick it.
You know what? Jim Daly may not have liked it. He just had a long conversation with Westwood at the bench. Here goes Calvillo, and there is a completion to Terry Vaughn.
Let's go back to this decision now. If he was talking like that to Troy Westwood, maybe it was just poorly executed. And actually, Jim Daly wanted that ball put deep in the corner. But a short kick shortens the field with lots of time for Anthony Calvillo. Yes, you have to respect Ezra Landry, but not that much.
No. First and 10, Vaughn inside. Terry Vaughn down to the 32-yard line. Time really not a factor for the Alouettes anyway.
It's not for the Alouettes, but it is for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Right.
Because if the Alouettes convert this drive, turn it into a major, they've got to make a bunch of big plays to do it, but we've seen a bunch tonight. Winnipeg needs to have some time on the clock. Do they have another big play out of Wes Lysak?
Well, this Alouette team has scored at will in the second half. 95 points on the board already.
CFL football at its best, without question.
It's one of those last possession win games. And overtime perhaps looming. Calvillo himself down to the 21 when things opened up on second and short.
Well, things at the line of scrimmage open up more because remember the last time they were second and short, they went over the top to Kerry Watkins. So this time the linebackers and secondary get way deep and play the pass first, and that allows Calvillo to have his crease and pick up good yardage.
Well, the defense that didn't allow a touchdown for 2 games, trying to prevent one here. Calvillo steps up and then has to hook slide behind the line of scrimmage. It closed down in a hurry. 1 minute on the clock.
Like Stanford Samuels once again, the newcomer, coming up with a big play. It's 3-down football for Anthony Calvillo, but he's looking at second and about 11 now.
Fans in a frenzy, urging the defense. Second and 11. Calvillo over the middle. Not a catch. No. Cavill tried to sell it. It would have been spectacular, but it did one hop into his hands.
The Winnipeg defense over the last 2 weeks, as we take another look at whether or not he made this catch. That ball bounced. It's a good call by the officials.
And now it's third and 11.
That defense has played well enough to win 2 weeks, but they need one more play to win tonight.
Remember Ricky Ray and Daryl Mitchell a week ago to break their hearts. Will Calvillo do the same? Here comes the rush. Calvillo intercepted. Picked off. Justin Coleman will down the ball with 34 seconds. The Bomber defense holds. Redemption for Coleman. Scorched twice by Ben Cahoon. But he comes up with his second interception of the year.
Ben Cahoon had to fight through the jam from Sean Woodson and was the intended target. The play is made by linebacker Sean Woodson, who jams up Cahoon. He takes a long time to get back to the middle, and Justin Coleman is sitting there. Watch the attention that Ben Cahoon gets on this play. 37 right there. Sean Woodson, he battles him, pushes him wide. That bubbles him to the outside. He can't get to the middle. Justin Coleman is sitting there for the interception.
And now they run the clock.
What an effort by the Montreal offense and Anthony Calvillo to come all the way back from a huge deficit. But this Bomber defense continues to make the plays necessary to put their team in a position to win. Now that play may have finally sealed the deal for Jim Daly.
He knew it wasn't going to be easy, but it turned out to be far more difficult than one would have
You
expected.
can tell a good DB because he never quit. He never quit. He always willing to make a play, baby.
He played from the front for most of the game and then saw it all evaporate, but they didn't quit.
They didn't quit, and that guy who was just talking, getting a little camera time there, was Stanford Samuels, and we will mention him a lot more as this season goes on. He's a keeper for the Bombers. What a difference that Kevin Glenn makes in that offense. T. Martin may be the quarterback of the future. Kevin Glenn is the quarterback for right now.
Yes, all the debate, and there's been plenty of it, I think has been silenced tonight. This game's not done. 28 seconds remaining. They can only run off 20 of it. So the Bombers have to deal with a third down and probably will give up 2.
Yeah, this is what you do here. You've got to give up 2. John Ryan, and try and get it under 20 seconds. Then you kick the football off. Anthony Calvillo has the choice after the safety, if they take it, to either take the ball or take the kickoff return.
Well, they'll run this down to about 9 seconds. How much more can Ryan take in the end zone? Well, they snapped it very early. There's still 12 seconds left.
And Montreal couldn't stop it, so they could have gone down a few more, like you mentioned, to 9. Snapped it a little bit early. Will those 3 or 4 seconds come back?
But it is 5, so obviously now the Alouettes need a touchdown. But John Ryan shaking his head because they could have been a little better at using the clock.
Yeah, and now the Montreal Alouettes basically get the decision. They can actually choose to kick the ball off. Obviously, they don't take that one in this instance, but they take either kick, receive, take the football, defend it in. They could take right now the football instead of taking the kickoff return that takes more time off the clock. 12 seconds is 2 plays for Anthony Calvillo.
97 points on the night.
The Bombers have to guard against pass interference, which could stop the clock. And they got it back up.
There's not one more score left in this game, is there? Let's find out. Calvillo wide open. Kwame Cavill to midfield. 6 seconds left.
Well, that was quick, and one more of that. Even though the Bombers have to back off, one more throw like that one gives Calvillo one chance, and then if he get to around 35, he's got a chance to throw it to the end zone.
To the end zone. So he's got to make this work in less than, well, clock's running, so this will be barring a penalty. And he sees in some trouble. Trying to buy some time. Going the wrong way. Joe Fleming in pursuit. Calvillo unloading. A man downfield, but this is intercepted. And this game is done. And William Fields has his 2nd pick of the game, his 4th in 2 weeks. What a night here in Winnipeg. And the Bombers are off the schneid in the most memorable of fashions.
They battled adversity when Don Matthews' Montreal Alouettes came crashing back in this 2nd half and found big plays when they needed it down the stretch. What a game.
They're the 1-4 Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Alouettes now 2-2. What a night.